everybody. Today I'm going to show you the brushed embroidery technique. It's such a lovely technique. I know it looks really complicated, but you won't believe how easy it is. Let me get on the other side. We're going to get started on it. If you're not familiar with the brush embroidery technique, it's really similar to this. Basically, it's piped icing, and you can do it in royal icing if it's on fondant, or buttercream if it's on a well-crusted buttercream. We do that in our buttercream class as well. So it's basically just piping the icing on and then brushing through it. So today I'm working with royal icing, and it dries quickly, so I have my bags tied off with icing bag ties here, and then I also have it in the PME icing bag stand so that the sponge stays moist and these tips stay moist and ready to go as well. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a Wilton tip number 3. It's just a basic round tip, and I'm going to pipe one petal. Even though I'm going to have like a 5-petal flower, you can do it any size you want. If you want to be really precise, you can use a cutter to kind of emboss in your cake first. This does not have to be pretty. It can be ugly and messy. I'm not worried about that. So don't worry about it being a nice piped thing. I kind of like it nice and thick. I'm going to put that back in my icing bag stand. What I have here is just a little bit of water, and I'm using the PME craft brushes. These are kind of my favorites. I'm just going to moisten the tip of my brush a little bit and kind of pull the excess moisture off on my hand. And what I'm going to do is, if you get in really close here, I'm going to start at the top of the petal and brush down and drag my brush towards the center. The more icing you have built up on your petal shape, the more you can draw the icing in towards the center. So if you start to build up icing on the tip of your brush, just clean that, re-moisten the tip, and then continue on. You want to make sure that you're just doing one petal at a time instead of piping all 5 petals, because if you went ahead and piped all 5 petals, by the time you got around to the last one, it would be too dry to drag your brush through. But you can see, I kind of like this stiffer brush rather than a soft one, because the bristles of the brush are really what make it so pretty. See how that icing's built up? I'm going to clean that and then continue on. So that is the first petal. I'll continue there by just starting with the second petal. And again, this does not have to be pretty. So don't worry about your piping skills on this. You just want to kind of build that up. And then I'm going to dampen my brush again and just take off the excess water. You don't want it too wet. And starting at the top of the petal, I'm going to drag through it and towards the center. I'm kind of picturing a center point, like right here, and no matter where I'm pulling from, I'm coming towards that center. So again, at the top of it and dragging through. And you can go back and re-accentuate some of those if you think it hasn't dragged through. Again, you're going to get a lot better definition on the embroidery style if your brush is a little bit stiff rather than soft. So continuing on. If you like the single petal look, this looks really good as it is. You could go back and fill in. So I'm going to pipe like a smaller petal inside of that. And I'm going to leave some of this pretty embroidery exposed, but I'm just going to do a second layer on there so it's nice and thick. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with a nice clean brush, slightly damp, and dragging towards the center. And you'll see, if I had, let's say this was an actual cake and it was darker blue, you can see that the more I drag through it and you can see through it, it gives a really pretty effect. So just as I had the red cake with the white icing on that, it was really pretty. So you can decide how much of that darker color you want to leave behind it by how much you pipe on your petal. So this one I piped more, but it's a smaller petal, so I'm kind of not leaving much exposed here in the center there. So let me go ahead and continue on, and we'll do all 5 petals. You can even ruffle a little bit if you want to. This has kind of a peony effect if you kind of give it a little bit of a heart shape or that sort of thing. That's a triple heart. But again, going to dampen my brush a little bit and just going towards that center point right here of the petal. And I can start to move a little quicker here now that you know what I'm doing. Clean your brush. And just make sure that you're not piping too much at one time. Again, one petal at a time so that it doesn't dry out before you can drag your brush through it, because that's what makes it really pretty, is being able to drag that and make that effect. So let me go ahead and finish these last 2 petals really quickly, and then we'll show you a little Okay, so that's all 5 of my petals. You can go back if you want to and do some interior things like little berries in the center. You could go outside and do a leaf shape. Okay, something like this, and then again building that up. Again, don't worry about it being super pretty. This all gets cleaned up with the brush. Okay. And then at the end, to really accentuate all of these brush strokes, clean up that edge here with a nice damp brush. A damp brush goes a long way when you're using royal icing to make things nice and clean and pretty. What I'm going to do at the end here, I have a PME pearl spray that is kind of one of my favorite things to make things pretty. It's, if you're familiar with super pearl dust, it's kind of the similar thing, but it comes in a spray can and it's ready to go. So you can really put it on a large area and get a really great shimmery effect without much effort at all. To show you how this really brings out the detail, I mean, this looks pretty if you get a close-up, but it has kind of a flat finish to it. If you just give a quick spritz of the can, and then get a close-up on it, what that does is it really accentuates all the depth and difference in the brush strokes that are actually in that brush embroidery. So that's just a quick tutorial on how to do the brush embroidery. You can certainly do it on all different sizes and shapes and styles of flowers. You can do leaves, you can add berries and twigs, all sorts of things like that. You can even do like a wedding monogram in the brush embroidery if you want to. Really nice effect. I think it's really simple to do, and I think if you have the right brush and the right touch to it, you're going to have a really easy time with it, and I know you'll have fun with it. Thanks for watching.